Good evening, chaps. How are we all? And before we get started, who's that? Oh, Robster Boy. Thank you very, very much, mate. Thank you so much. I will spend it wisely. How's everyone doing? Excuse me. Cheers. Oh, that's tasting rather good tonight. Yes. Where are we? Let's see who's in. First of all, we got Johnny Random, Patrick Becker, Ozzy's in, Ozymandias, Scotty the Fox, Anton, becoming quite a regular, aren't you, mate? Peter Collins, Brad Matthews, Robster Boy, as I mentioned earlier, thank you. James White, evening, mate. Scott Guitars, Dan, a chap who makes some rather lovely guitars. Where are we? Ian Geddes, John Willard, Sean House, evening, mate. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Apologies if I've missed you, but, you know, it's kind of ticking by rather fast, and, you know, I have to lean in a little bit to see because I really should need some new glasses. Who's that saying? Is that me second? Oh, it's me first one. It's not the first one of the week, it has to be said. I had a bit of a manic day yesterday. Nothing stressful, just you know, put in a lot of hours, and I was spitting feathers by the end of it. So I decided to uncork a couple. Good evening, Graham. Good evening, Sargi. Good evening, Ian. Good evening, Steve. So, as is customary round about this time, I will let you know that I have a bit of an announcement coming up on the stream tonight. Something that may shock one or two people. Evening, Jeff. How are you, mate? But before we get to the announcement, what's going on the channel this week then? Well, there is going to be... tomorrow is Saturday, isn't it? Yes, of course it is, because Friday today. Tomorrow's video, the usual sort of Saturday solo thing. Excuse me while I just take this fleece off. Do you like the shirt, by the way? If you're happy and you know it, go away. Yes, indeed. The wife bought me that. I can't think why. But yes, the Saturday video tomorrow is all about using slightly more colourful and exotic note choices in a rock solo. It's a good one, that. Some nice licks in that. No, Phil, not that dramatic, mate. Not that dramatic. Almost, though. Monday, we are looking at a viewer request solo. It's going to be the solo by Mick Ronson from the Ian Hunter track, Once Bitten, Twice Shy. And that took a bit of doing, that one. I've got to tell you, it was a bit of a chewy one to work out, but I've done it, so you don't have to. Anyway, Tuesday, I'm resurrecting at the request of a viewer the what, how much series of videos. Basically, somebody's asked me to look into just how much you can spend if you want to on a set of pickups. So we're looking at that on Tuesday, and the amount you can spend on a set of pickups is, well, I just didn't know numbers went that high, basically. No, not a new wig. Wednesday, chord sequence lesson again. Not accordion lessons. Patience, dear boys. I shall get to it. Wednesday, we're doing chord sequences. A bit of a different spin on a 12-bar blues on Wednesday. So if you know, if you're wanting to learn how to play blues with more than 3 chords, I think there's 8 chords in this blues we're looking at on Wednesday, then that's the video for you. And then on Thursday, it's going to be that great guitar on cheesy 70s pop video that I was going to do this week, but never got round to kind of compiling all the stuff I needed for it. But the announcement, what am I talking about? Well, you probably saw yesterday the video that I did on the signature guitar, which is just out of shot over there. And I rarely play anything else these days. So I've been looking at thinning the herd a little bit. and the only one that I can really hand on heart say isn't earning its keep in one way or another, or doesn't have sentimental value in one way or another, is the Gordon Smith. Yes, indeed. Gordon will be leaving the building. He's going up on eBay next week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a reserve of, I think these are about 400-500, going used on eBay, Gordon Smith GS series. So I'm going to put him up on eBay with a reserve of 400. And what I'm going to do is 50% of everything over that 400 quid is going to go to Zoe's place. So that's what's happening. It's a lovely guitar, but this is a lovelier guitar, and this does all that this one does, and just does it that little bit better. And if I can get about 400-500 quid out of it, then what it means is once all of this current situation that we won't talk about, once all of that's over and, we're kind of free to travel again, it means I can take the missus on holiday this year. And she's not had the best 12 months, it has to be said, apart from being married to me, of course, But, it would be nice to just kind of take the old girl away on a little bit of a break. So that's the plan. That's the announcement there. When you kind of feel a little bit relieved once you've said something, because I've been thinking about it for a while. I bought the Gordon Smith because I always regretted getting rid of my first one. And I got rid of the first one in the mid-2000s sometime, maybe 2003, 2004. And I got it to fund or partially fund owning a PRS. And I hadn't tried the PRS. And I never really fell in love with the PRS once I'd got it. There was always that regret, and there was always that I'll have to get another Gordon Smith again. The difference is this time, the guitar that's replacing it is this one. And, they're so similar in terms of what they do. I mean, arguably not in terms of how they're built. That's a bolt on Telecaster kind of thing. That's a Les Paul Jr. type thing. But in terms of the sounds and that they deliver, it's difficult to justify having both guitars there, really. So it's a case of like, well, let's get rid of the one that I'm probably not going to use that much anymore. What's that, Das? I've never sold a guitar before. Lost them, broke them, and had them nicked, broken into parts, but never sold one. Well, I've bought and sold plenty of guitars. I have this knack in the past. Oh, watch this. I'll sell that Gordon Smith, and then something will happen. Something in the in the kind of world of guitar will happen, which will suddenly make Gordon Smiths the most desirable guitar, and the prices will treble or quadruple about a week after I've sold mine. I'll guarantee that will happen, because it's happened. That sort of thing's happened to me plenty of times before. Excuse me, I need a refill. Yes, so Gordon will be going up on eBay. I'll make mention of it in a video and post a link to the auction when it goes live. So if anybody's interested in bidding, then fill your boots. Basically, it is a beautiful guitar. It's just I've got a more beautiful one there. Hello, Geronimo. How are you, mate? Hello from the Netherlands. There's a Harley Benton telly with some kind of TV Jones Filtertron pickups. Do you like this one? And is this usable? Not only do I like it, but that was for a good little while. I had one of those. The TE90 FLT, I think it is. That's a beautiful guitar. I had it and used it as my main guitar for, a good long while. So, yeah, they're a great little guitar, those. How much will eBay charge you, John? It's usually about, the seller fees are usually about 10%, aren't they, Bob? Talking about Filtertrons, has anybody seen that Rhett Shull video where he kind of talks about the Filtertron sound? I do like his videos. He's the thing I think about Rhett Shull is, whenever you see him, you think he's only a young lad. I don't think he's even 30 yet. He's a bairn, as we say in these parts. But how has he got that much knowledge for such a young lad, for such a young chap? Because he really, really does know his stuff. Wait for the £1 seller fees. Yeah, I might do that. I'll say, that eBay isn't the only way of selling stuff, is it? There's Gumtree and there's all of that kind of stuff. But we'll see. But my mind is made up because I've already ordered the big oblong cardboard box that you ship guitars in. I've ordered one of those. Bet the next owner sells it as John Robson's Gordon Smith and doubles his money. I think it's probably more likely to halve the money, to be honest with you, Peter. But we can live in hope. It's a good question, Das. I've not ordered anything from Toman after Brexit, mainly because I haven't needed anything from Toman after Brexit. But it'd be interesting to know if anybody has ordered that sort of stuff. And the thing is that you got to remember, it is in the UK. We got like we were in the EU until recently, and I'm not going to comment on that. Okay. Divisive subject, and this is a politics-free channel. But Toman shipped to all over the world, and I haven't heard any horror stories from the rest of the world about, kind of excessive, import duties or anything like that. I mean, I first got to hear about Harley Benton guitars from an American channel, a chap called Nick in the States. So you don't see him much these days, which is a shame because it was a great channel. Really nice guy and nice sense of humor. Evening, John, says Graham. Listening as I move around my music room, give it a long overdue cleanup. Yes, I will tidy up in here at some point. It just won't be today. It's here's the thing about housework. Once you haven't done it for 3 months, it doesn't get any worse. So that's who was it who said that? I think it was Quentin Crisp, wasn't it? But that's kind of a bit of a motto I have. Mess and clutter gets to a certain point with me when I think, right, I've got to do something about that now, and it's like suddenly there's a switch that trips in my brain, and I kind of, I get the place spotless, and then it just kind of accumulates again until that switch trips again. Where are we? If there are enough people interested on this group, you might be able to get it sold on here if that doesn't contravene YouTube. Well, I've sold stuff before on YouTube. If you remember when I was doing the Guitars for Good Causes thing, when I was auctioning guitars, for Zoe's place, I was sometimes kind of getting rid of like 400 or 500 quid's worth of stuff 2 or 3 times a month, and the seller fees were just kind of crippling me because I wasn't deducting those seller fees from the money I was sending to Zoe's place. So in the end, I started just kind of inviting bids via email, and then what happened was you kind of paid your money to Zoe's place, showed me the receipt, and I sent you the guitar. And that seemed an effective way of doing it, and nobody said anything at the time. So maybe it might be a way to do that this time. I don't know. It's I shall basically what I'm doing, I suppose, here at the moment, as much as anything else, is putting the feelers out. So if anybody here is interested in the guitar, well, you can contact me through the website, and let's talk. Basically. Do you see yourself buying any more Harley Bentons, John, or are you done? Never say never is what I would say. But at the moment, I just don't want any more guitars. And without wishing to give too much away, I'm financially, a bit more secure now than I have been in recent years. I'm not kind of. Somebody said on one of the comments about the signature guitar the other day. They said, "Oh, we must be minted." I wish. Do you think? Do you think somebody who was, sat on a pile of cash like some people think I am would be working 70 hours a week? I think not. But basically, financially, I'm a little bit more secure than I have been in a while. Thanks in main part to the support that you guys have given me. It has to be said. And I can afford to just think, yeah, I'll if it's not too expensive, yeah, I'll go and grab one of those, see what it's like. But there isn't a guitar out there at the moment that really makes me kind of want to pull the trigger at the moment. So, there you go. Never say never, but not at the moment. Minted and self-employed should never be used in the same sentence. Agreed, Colin. This is very true. I can't remember who it was who said it, but that someone once said that if you're self-employed, you have no free time and you have no spare cash. And yeah, that's pretty true. It's it's you want to take a couple of weeks off to go on holiday. Well, you've got to pay for the holiday and you've got to pay for the money that you're not earning while you're away. So it's, as I say, that's one reason why Gordon is leaving the building. It's so that me and the missus can have a few days away this year. Nothing kind of extravagant. We're talking about just going for kind of 4 or 5 days in a bed and breakfast in the Lake District, and it'll probably rain, but I don't care. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. That's very, very good of you. Thank you. And you're great too. Where are we? Capo on the 4th, Lee. He's in. How are you, Lee? I'm minted like a polo. There's a great big hole in my finances. Yes. Thank you, Ozzy. The old ones are the best, aren't you? Yes, it's a good shirt, isn't it? Just before Christmas, the wife bought us both a pair of T-shirts. Hers has got, this was mine, and the one she bought was, touch my coffee and I'll slap you so hard, not even Google will be able to find you, which is about right. You just don't mess with Jackie when she's having a coffee. Where are we? Happiness is always a case of a lack of information. Well, there is such a thing as blissful ignorance, isn't there? Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks, Lee. I'm doing all right. Living the dream, mate. Living the dream. Any thoughts on Mike Bloomfield and Buddy Miles? Well, Mike Bloomfield, in the UK, I don't think Mike Bloomfield gets the the recognition he deserves. I know he's a big name in the States, but in the UK, you talk about that kind of 60s blues boom, and people talk Clapton, Hendrix, obviously, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page. Obviously, those are the names, and Mike Bloomfield never ever gets mentioned. So much so that I hadn't heard of Mike Bloomfield until, I guess, the early 90s. And then so obviously then you do that thing that you did in the early 90s before Spotify and whatever. You go out and you kind of buy an album on, on spec, and fantastic player. Indeedly, rest in peace, Chick Corea. Not a fan, not a huge fan of his music, but what can you? The guy was groundbreaking, wasn't he? Oh, Bob's just emailed me. Hang on, I'll just have a look. I've got one of them there phones where you can check your email now. Marvellous. I'm serious. This is only the second. This is only the second smartphone I've ever had, and okay, Bob. Right. Well, duly noted. Enjoyed the chord lesson the other day. Can we have a lesson on how to build a chord, please? Well, that is coming up. That is coming up. A lesson on kind of harmony, what notes are in a chord, and I'm thinking along the lines of, getting to the point where you can see a chord written in a song, like, I don't know, B flat major 7 add 6 sharp 11 or something like that. And you can think, okay, let me decode that. I know what notes I need to play that. And then you find them on the neck of the guitar and you can play the chord. You can just look at the name of a chord and know what to play without kind of having to think, oh, I'll go and see if there's a shape somewhere for that. Evening Thap. It's okay if I call you Thap, isn't it? Thap, Thop, Theep. Yes, I do wonder sometimes about some of the names people have on their profiles. It's... let you into a little secret here. I'm married to the Mad Mountie, she's called. She's still got that name for kind of lingering on a couple of old email addresses because she's Canadian, is Jackie. And what do you think of when you think of Canadians? Mounties. And, so when she came in the UK, everybody was calling her the Mad Mountie. So, that was, it sort of stuck. Okie dokie, mate. Evening, Craig. I hadn't seen you. I hadn't seen you in there. Maybe I've missed it. Maybe I'm missing the chat. Thank you for the compliment there. You enjoyed the vid on ugly chords. I use a lot of them being a metalhead. Well, yes, you do. That's the thing I notice, actually. I don't claim to be, a massive metalhead myself. Iron Maiden is about where I top out in terms of metal and heaviness and stuff. And do you hear they're up for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year, by the way? Be interesting to see if they get in. But anyway, it's something I do notice when I do kind of dip a toe in the waters of like modern metal. Is it's not just all about kind of chuggy power chords anymore, is it? It's there's more kind of dissonant, kind of flat fives and augmented fives and stuff like that. Evening, Jero. Evening. There's Calogero. He's my 9 a.m. lesson in the morning, so I better not be too hungover. Evening, Phil. How are you? Late on parade? Yes. Do 2 circuits of the parade square, mate. Remember those ads? The Mountie always gets his man. Yeah, that was Labatt's, wasn't it? The Canadian lager. Now, here's a thing. I remember the pub I used to drink in when Labatt's first sort of became a thing in the 80s, when it was, kind of first marketed over here. And I remember drinking Labatt's in my local pub, and it was dishwater. It was horrid. It was manky. It was, you wouldn't wash your socks in it. And then me and the missus went over to Canada when she kind of when E.T. went home, as I called it at the time. we had a couple of weeks over in Canada, and the Labatt's over there is absolutely gorgeous. It has to be said. You know, it doesn't travel well, perhaps. Iron Maiden, my favourite metal band of all time. I'll tell you a documentary I'm never tired of watching is that Flight 666, you know, which is, it's getting on a bit now. It's about 13-year-old, but it's still, I mean, you know, just as well as being an interesting kind of, you know, almost like a real life kind of version of Spinal Tap, you know. I don't think they intentionally did that, but it does have that sort of Spinal Tap feel. You know, just the sort of camaraderie and the affection that those guys have for each other, you know, is, and you know, Bruce has been out of the fold and back in again. Adrian's been out of the fold and back in again. You can tell that they're just like a bunch of mates that would go down the pub together, even if they weren't, you know, famous. You know, and Nico McBrain is, to quote myself actually, an expression that I don't know where it came from, but he's as mad as a stabbed badger. That seemed to get a lot of response on the on a recent video that I did. I have no idea where I picked that one up, but it was just one that came out my mouth as I was kind of blethering away to the camera. Cheers, anyway. On to beer number 3. Where are we? Hello, your recent lessons on YouTube were just what I did not know I needed to know. Oh, thank you, Ian. Yes, there's there's that you know, there's that you don't know, and there's that you don't know that you don't know. And wasn't it Mark Twain who said, you know, it ain't what you don't know that gets you into bother. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And you know, when you kind of lurk around, you know, in the background on a lot of guitar forums, as I used to do, you know, there's a lot of that going on, isn't there? Yes, Bob, I am. The reruns of Brian Johnson's On the Road, the best one of those by far, I think, was the one he did with Dave Grohl. It was just like a mutual admiration society, wasn't it? But in such a good way. You know, you could tell that there were two guys who just really respected each other, and just the stories and the anecdotes that they told, and you know, fantastic stuff. If you haven't seen it, you know, it's just watch out for it. Steve Hoggett, you're just setting up a 62 Strat, a real one. Not or a reissue, mate. You know, have you got your hands on a real one? You know, good for you if you have, mate. Anyway, John, have you experimented with shooting video over your left shoulder that displays the fretboard as the player sees it? I did try it, but it was just such what's the word? A faff around. What I actually did was, I think I've still got it here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Bought one of these little kind of hidden surveillance cameras, right? And got like the old Mark Knopfler sweatband and put it on there like that. Yeah, I look like, what's he called? Off Red Dwarf with a H on his forehead. And you know, it just didn't really kind of work pretty well. So then I kind of tried mounting the video on a tripod because I'm kind of, let's say, a gentleman of larger proportions. The tripod wouldn't go high enough to kind of get down, and it might be something I could look at in the future. How about tabbing out Slapshot? How do you know about Slapshot, Johnny Random? You must have been digging through the archives. I doubt if I could remember how to play that now. That was 2008 I recorded that. Oh, it's not yours, is it, Steve? Fair enough. for a recording next week. Mike, you must be recording some well-heeled people if they can afford a 62 Strat. Talking about that comment there, that was it Ozzy who said that? Yeah, a 62 Strat. Can you drill out for a Floyd Rose? There is a guy in this part of the world who Steve knows pretty well, I'm sure. An absolutely fantastic guitar player. Everybody's everybody looks up to him. He's a chap called Graham Russell. And I was having a beer once with Graham because he does like to drink. And it was, I'll tell you when this was. It was round about the time when the National Lottery in the UK launched. So that's got to be about 25 years ago. And, the topic of conversation on everybody's lips at the time was, well, what would you do if you won the lottery? And Graham was saying, what I'd do is, he said, I'd buy a Paul Reed Smith Dragon and I'd paint it with Airfix paint and I'd hack a Floyd Rose into it with a chisel because it's mine and you can't stop me. And, that was great. That's Graham all over, anyone can play guitar. Any chance of tabbing out a Radiohead solo? Anyone off the bends? Oh, now Radiohead. They're not my favourite band, as I might have mentioned in one or two videos. But it is a viewer request, so I shall treat it impartially and give it a look. Was it 94, James? Was it? You won 30 quid. I've never had so much as a tenner. I've never had a bean off it. I just stopped doing it. It's even when I used to do the pools, I got the occasional little kind of little win off that. But does anybody do the pools anymore? The football pools? Does it even exist as a thing? I haven't seen it mentioned, in forever, really. Anyway, talking about solos that are viewer requests, let me tell you the next few on the list, or the next couple on the list anyway. 3, actually. I'm going to be doing something by Chris Rea because I'm conscious that name kept cropping up a little while ago, and I've yet to do a solo analysis featuring one of these. So that's sort of killing two birds with one stone. A lot of people, I think just after Christmas, were requesting Chris Rea solos, so I'm going to do something like that. Then there's going to be a Marillion solo. Haven't decided which one yet, but the smart money is on Kaylee. And then there's probably going to be the Matt Bellamy solo from Hysteria by Muse, because that is just a fantastic song and just such an out there solo that I want to have a chance of learning that for myself. Steve Rothery, Incubus. Well, I've already kind of let the cat out the bag a little bit with Kaylee, haven't I? But it might be Kaylee. But if convince me otherwise. Incubus, says Anton. John, you got to do something by Camel. Do you know what? It's never occurred to me that I should, but consider it on the list, mate. Right, so far, there's a couple of people, talking about Incubus by Steve Rothery, and one person saying Kaylee. So if you feel strongly enough about it, bang me an email through the website, and I'll, I shall basically kind of go with the majority on that one. I agree with you, Bob. The Blues Collection by Chris Rea is really good. Yeah, Road to Hell, that's a fantastic solo on there. Who else, when you first heard Road to Hell, if you're old enough, when was it, 1989 it came out? Who else, when you first heard the intro to that song, and you didn't, before Chris's vocals came in, who else thought, oh, Dire Straits have got a new album out? You know, right, so it looks like it's Road to Hell by Chris Rea then. Robin, Crazy Horses by the Osmonds. Will it be the album solo for Kayleigh? Well, yeah, probably, if I do Kayleigh. You know, Misplaced Childhood, it's the one Marillion album I had. I don't know if I've still got it. It's been knocking around somewhere. Yeah, Crazy Horses by the Osmonds. That's going to be featuring on the cheesy pop from the 70s that had great guitar on it video that's happening Thursday, I think. I was just a kid of about 8 or 9, and my dad and Chris. It was really the first time I noticed that music could really be quite dark, but I loved it. Yeah. The story of that, I don't know if you've heard the story about when he wrote that song. He was basically stuck in a traffic jam on the M25, and you know, had been there for about 6 hours, and they're getting to the point where there's like 3 or 4 of them in the car, and you know, everybody's getting a bit fractious with each other, you know, kind of like, you know, have you farted? You know, have you smoked the last cigarette? That kind of thing. And that inspired the song. What would Dire Straits be called if Chris Rea joined them? Fair enough. Yeah, it took me a minute. Yes. Okay. Do Them All and Misplaced Childhood. It's a concept album. Yes. How much time do you think I have? Those thoughts on Tommy Bolin replacing Richie Blackmore? Well, yeah. I mean, the reason why Purple hired Tommy Bolin really was because he'd replaced Joe Walsh in the James Gang, and they wanted somebody who was, you know, comfortable with kind of stepping into big shoes, basically. And, you know, I don't know. I'm not the world's biggest Richie Blackmore fan. I think that possibly that he was a great guitarist, Tommy Bolin, but I don't think he was the right guy for that gig. You know, and there you go. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on it. Funny thing is, I was listening to Madness since I was a kid, thinking it was all about fun and hijinks, when Madness were pretty dark and deep too. Yeah, you listen to the lyrics, and especially on some of their kind of later stuff, and it's, you know, it's a little bit dark, as you say, isn't it? Every time I see a top-notch guitar player, I tend to think guitar bin, give up to me. I think you're thinking saying bin the guitar and give up. I used to be like that, I'll be honest. I did go through a thing of, like, you know, when YouTube started becoming, you know, a thing that was more than just a niche thing. So probably about, you know, kind of the late 2000s, you know, 2009, 2010, around about then. And you'd see these, you know, toddlers basically, you know, kind of picking up a guitar and playing Cliffs of Dover or whatever. And you think, what? And but then it's just like, okay, I've got to a point now where, to be honest with you, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I do what I do. I do what I like, and you know, I'm reasonably good at what I do, I think. And if people like it, then fair enough. But you know, I always say, someone once pointed this out to me. Imagine one of these big all-star jams, okay, where you've got, you know, kind of Joe Satriani and before he passed away, 10 years this year, isn't it, Gary Moore, and maybe before he'd gone, Eddie Van Halen. Imagine a big jam session like that. And they did a version of Parisian Walkways. Would Eddie Van Halen play Parisian Walkways with that fast Gary Moore run in it the same as Gary? Would Gary play Eruption the same way Eddie played it? Would Eddie play Surfing with the Alien the same way Joe played it? So there's all of these guys have, when was the last time you heard Jeff Beck Sweet Picking? The point I'm making is we all have things we do well and things that we kind of steer away from. Alan Holdsworth, when did you hear him doing kind of fast alternate picking? You just didn't. So it's you celebrate what your strengths are, and you kind of enjoy what other people do well as well. That's the way I view it now. First time I saw Guthrie Govan, I was like, wow, I wish I was that good. Yes, but don't we all? I mean, Guthrie is just one of those people who beamed in from outer space somewhere, isn't he? He just he picks the guitar up, and the first thing that really made me go, what was that? Was listening to and if you haven't heard it, and you probably have, but go and Google Wonderful Slippery Thing from his Erotic Cakes album. When you think about Guthrie, it's a bit weird because I think he's only had one solo album, that Erotic Cakes, and it is just the nearest thing I can say is it's like when Surfing with the Alien came out. I wasn't into shred guitar, but I just couldn't not listen to that music. And the same thing with Erotic Cakes. Even if you're not into shred guitar playing, check it out. It's just his sense of melody, and his sense of phrasing and his sense of humour that comes out in his playing as well is just gobsmacking. And when you see him in interviews, you get the sense that he just doesn't have any idea how good he is. Gordon Giltrap once turned up unannounced at my local folk club. That was a jaw-dropping jaw on the floor evening. Yeah, a mate of mine tells a similar story actually about Dire Straits. This is at the height of Brothers in Arms and that whole thing. And he was in some pub this mate of mine, he was in some pub in, I think it was in Skipton in Yorkshire. And in walks this bunch of lads, and they've got like guitar cases and stuff, and they just set up in the corner and started playing. And about half a song in, people realised, that's Dire Straits. Or it was certainly Knopfler, and was it Jack Sonny at the time, who was the rhythm guitar player, and John Ilsley, the bass player. And the three of them sat down and started playing all these old blues tunes, And this is, they'd probably been 2 days ago playing, Wembley or something. Jim Dunlop Jazz 3, that's what I habitually use. And I have this thing where, when I need to do a little bit of fingerstyle or a bit of usually kind of twiddly, tappity stuff, I do this thing where I kind of hold it in there like that. And it's like, that simple little kind of palming a coin that a magician will do. But, Chris seems to kind of have it there all the time, or just have it there or whatever, and play like that all the time. Which, fair enough. That's how he plays. That's how he, I've another weird thing that I'll share with you now, actually. When I'm sat down playing, my foot is always on this knackered old crybaby pedal. There's no guts in it or anything. It's completely empty. But I just put it on the floor, and my foot goes on there, and I feel comfortable playing. If it's not there, then I don't feel I can play properly. Isn't that a bit odd? Anyway, just thought I'd drop that into... yeah, you use your wah for a footrest as well, do you, Kieran? Pete's watching me on the telly. I'm on the telly. How are you, Pete? Long time no see, mate. Have you still got the pub in the garden? Gary Moore statue proposed in Belfast. Well, that'll be, yeah. I mean, if anyone deserves, like, you know, a statue, you know, in their hometown, you know, I would say Gary does. But then again, I'm biased, aren't I? I am a bit of a Gary Moore fan. I might have mentioned it in a video or two. The pub's on hold, is it, Pete? Do you me? Well, I hope you're not spoiling for a drink. Yeah, like a classical guitar player's footstool. Indeed, Stevie. Yes, but that's too high for me. It's just that wah pedal is the right height. Anyway, more beer. It is, in case you hadn't noticed, the Morrison's export this week. It's just... I'm too busy to go shopping, so I get the wife to do a Morrison's order. And yesterday morning, a nice gentleman in a van brought me some beer and a few groceries, you know, bread and milk and stuff like that. But you know, he brought the essentials, let's say. Morrison's indeed, Aussie. When sat down, I always play classical style on the left leg. It's the only way that feels comfortable. Yeah, I'm okay on either knee, to be honest with you. I'm okay with the like that. And oh, there's me vape knocked over. And you know, usually if I'm going to do anything sort of twiddly or stretchy, I'll go like that. So yeah, it's curiously all stood up when I do occasionally play standing up. I don't really kind of do that sort of thing. I don't kind of move the guitar around like that. I'm comfortable either way. Nirvana quite famously played an impromptu set at the Southern Bar in Edinburgh near my flat. About 5,000 Edinburgh guitarists will tell you they were there on that night in that wee tiny pub. Yeah, we were talking about Chris Rea earlier, James. Being a Teesside lad myself, I played in bands for a few years on Teesside, as you do. I think the last kind of regular gigs I did were about 2013, and then I realised that, you know, it was just well, what's the old saying? You know. What's the difference between a pizza and a working musician? A pizza can feed a family of 4. You know, I realised that basically it wasn't. I wasn't paying the mortgage playing gigs, basically. But you know, being in bands with people, if I'd had £1 for every person I'd played with in a band that, I used to be in a band with Chris Rea, me. Oh yeah, me and Chris, like that. Oh, a great lad is Chris, you know. And to an extent, the same is true about David Coverdale, because he's from this part of the world as well. You always met somebody that years ago, we were in a band together, you know, and you think, oh, yeah, how many bands have these guys been in? John, do you know a good MIDI wah pedal as I use Guitar Rig 5? No, I don't. Because I came across the same issue myself for the Mick Ronson solo that's coming up on Monday. And what I had to do was use the, just put the wah in after the fact and then kind of move the parameter on the mix down, you know, just kind of click on it and drag the mouse back and forth across, as you'll see in the video on Monday, to get the wah sound, which is a little bit of a faff around, but it does mean that you can kind of reconstruct the wah envelope. You know, if you didn't quite get it the right sort of up and down kind of motion when you were playing, you can sort of correct it after the fact. Not that I had to, it happened okay on the first attempt, but that's the way I've done it. Ry Cooder, no one seems to mention him, John. WTF? Well, that's fantastic, apparently. I think he's just unorthodox, isn't he? I mean, my favourite Ry Cooder album isn't actually a Ry Cooder album. Do you remember that thing that prod Nick Lowe, Jim Keltner and John Hyatt, I think? And it was called Little Village. That was a great album, and I thought, this is excellent, you know. And then that was it, one album and done, you know. Yeah, Paris, Texas was a great soundtrack. You know, I seem to remember at one point having Bop Till You Drop, as that was one of his albums, wasn't it? I seem to remember having that at some point, but that was when I was a student in the 80s, and only memories from that time are a little bit blurry, let's say. I just want to say hello and thanks for the videos. They've helped me stay sane this last few months. More power to you, John. Well, thank you, Martin. I enjoy making the videos, and I enjoy the feedback I get from them. And, you know, it's become what with, I do what, five produced videos and a live stream every week, and you know, about 35 lessons a week, and you know, that is now like a full-time job for me. So I used to do 2 videos a week, and I've discovered ways of speeding up my workflow, as they say, which you know, means I can kind of crank out more videos, and I enjoy doing them. It's pleasing to know that they are appreciated. Thank you. Watching the numbers slowly creeping up, John. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you, Johnny. Yeah, I'm within spitting distance now of 20k subscribers, and I remember being absolutely cock-a-hoop when I had 2,000 subscribers. The thing is, I started putting videos up on YouTube in 2008, and between 2008 and 2018, 10 years, I'd managed to accrue about 500 subscribers. And then I discovered the power of the rant. You know, I had a bit, because like by this time I was like, well, nobody's watching. It doesn't matter what I say. I can say anything, you know. So I had a bit of a rant. It was out Fender, actually. And in 2018, January 2018, I went from about 500 to 1,000 subscribers in a week. And then from 1,000 to 2,000 in about 2 weeks, you know, and suddenly it started creeping up. Or shooting up rather, and you know, an immensely enjoyable kind of process getting there. So you know, and that's all credit to you lads, you know, who've watched me and you know, supported me and clicked like and clicked subscribe, and you know, some of you have joined Patreon, and thank you for that. You know, it's you know, as I said earlier, slightly tongue-in-cheek, living the dream. But you know, it is true. You know, I mean, people say I work hard, and what I would say is, well, you know, lumberjacks work hard, coal miners work hard, people who go and kind of hammer rivets into, you know, the side of a ship in a shipyard, they work hard. I just sit here and play guitar and talk bollocks, you know, a few times a week. You know, so that's not really work, is it? Thank you, Craig. It all went wonky at shooting up this time. Oh, okay. Well, I think I know what you're saying. Yes. Does that mean you're buffering? um, are you in Middlesbrough? No, I'm in Redcar, mate. I'm in Redcar. I'm a Middlesbrough lad. I was born in Middlesbrough. And then I married a Canadian lass, and she lived in Redcar. Boy, did she not read the brochure. Toronto to Redcar, dearie me. I sleep all night and I work all day. Eat buttered scones for tea. Yes, indeed. Where are we? Yes. I recently bought an Epiphone Les Paul Special. I'm a double bass player and my only. Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah, you can't go wrong with like a Les Paul Special, can you? Just simplicity itself. Um, a smoggy lad, indeed. Yes, that's what they call us Middlesbrough lads, or Teessiders in general, smoggies. It's a reference to the air quality round here. Where are we? You off how you feel? Fair enough. I won't be long myself. I'm starting to get peckish. It's the talking about Teesside. It's the Teesside delicacy of the Parmo for our evening meal this evening. If you're not familiar with that, it's chicken breast, bechamel sauce, melted cheese, heart attack on a plate, but absolutely gorgeous. Oh, you got a new guitar, have you, Graham? A Gretsch. Dearie me. Good for you, mate. How is it? Have you ordered it or has it turned up yet? Oh, very, very much obliged, Dominique. You enjoyed the Whiskey in the Jar solo. That was a little while ago. I often think when I look at, because I do occasionally look at my own videos, I have to confess, and I look at some of those earlier ones like that, and I think I could make that video so much better nowadays, because you learn your craft as a YouTuber, as a video maker, and I could have made that video a lot better these days. Maybe I will. Maybe, I don't know if there's an appetite out there for it. Let me know which videos you'd like me to remake. Yes, Colin, coming down the A19, you hit the Tees flyover, you can smell the aroma of the Parmos in the air. Yes, indeed. Anyway, chaps, this is the end of my last beer. The last one I brought up with me anyway, and we've been on about an hour, so I'm going to call time now. Thank you so much, everyone, once again, for turning up on a Friday night to watch a fat, bald lad talk cobblers for an hour. It never ceases to amaze me how many of you do this, and I am eternally grateful. Thank you again so much. But for now, I'm going to call time, and I'll see you all again on the next one. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.